An 8-1 Supreme Court ruling just changed the single most important moment in self-defense. The moment you're legally allowed to use your gun. Not why, not how, not where, but when. And here's the part gun owners are not hearing. Under this new standard, you could be a law-abiding American, facing a real threat, doing everything right, and still end up in handcuffs because a prosecutor decides you acted 1 second too early, or 1 second too late. This ruling applies to you right now. Whether you carry every day, keep a firearm at home, or simply believe in the right to defend yourself and your family. Gun owners cannot be left in the dark on this. If you're watching this, do not scroll. Hit the like button so this warning reaches every gun owner who needs to hear it, and drop a comment saying, "My right is guaranteed," so YouTube pushes this video to the entire Second Amendment community. Subscribe if you believe gun owners deserve the truth, not confusion. And share this video with just one other gun owner you care about. This is important. Now, let's break down exactly what this 8-1 ruling really says, before someone innocent ends up in prison. Why this ruling matters. Before we dive into the ruling itself, you need to understand the problem the Supreme Court decision has just created, and why it matters to every gun owner in America. For decades, self-defense law rested on one central principle. Did you act reasonably under the threat you faced? That's it. Reasonable action. That's how courts decided whether someone's choice to draw or use a firearm was lawful. But even that principle has never been simple. Across the United States, the rules were a patchwork. Some states demanded that a person retreat if possible, even when threatened in their own home or walking down the street. Other states allowed stand-your-ground laws, meaning you could legally defend yourself without retreating, even in public. Courts argued endlessly about what counts as imminent danger, how clear the threat must appear, and whether fear alone justifies defensive action. For decades, this system created uncertainty, yes, but there was at least a framework. Law-abiding gun owners could make split-second decisions knowing that, as long as they acted reasonably, the law would generally protect them. Mistakes happened, sure, but the system was somewhat predictable. Now, that certainty is gone. Imagine this. You wake up in the dead of night to the sound of someone breaking into your home. Your adrenaline spikes. You grab your firearm. You make a decision, a fast, instinctive, human decision, to defend yourself and your loved ones. Under the old standard, that choice would have been judged on reasonableness. But under this new Supreme Court ruling, that split-second decision could be scrutinized like it was a crime. If you acted 1 second too early, or even 1 second too late, prosecutors could argue that your timing was incorrect. And in their eyes, that could be enough to remove your legal protection entirely. Think about the consequences. 1 heartbeat. 1 second. That's all it takes to potentially destroy your life, your freedom, and the security of your family. This ruling doesn't just clarify existing law, it fundamentally changes it. It introduces a new layer of legal scrutiny. The timing of every defensive action. It doesn't matter if you were right to act, if the threat was real, or if your fear was justified. Now, the law may focus on whether you acted at the exact right moment. For the average gun owner, this isn't a minor tweak. It's a seismic shift. One that could touch anyone who carries a firearm, keeps one at home, or simply believes in the right to self-defense. And here's the part most people haven't realized yet. This change isn't theoretical. It's already here. It applies immediately. Any confrontation you face from this point forward could be judged under this new standard. Your split-second decision could now be the difference between going home safely and facing criminal charges. In the next section, we're going to explore the very case that triggered this decision. A case that seems ordinary, but hidden inside its pages is a ruling that could change everything for law-abiding gun owners, forever. The case behind the ruling. The case that triggered this landmark Supreme Court decision was, in many ways, surprisingly ordinary. It wasn't a high-profile shootout. There were no news crews camped outside. There was no dramatic headline about a murder trial or a sensational crime. At first glance, it looked like just another self-defense case in America's sprawling legal system. But here's the critical part. What seemed ordinary on the surface hit a legal earthquake beneath. This was a case about a confrontation, a claim of self-defense, and, most importantly, the court's reinterpretation of what counts as the right moment to act. A man faced a perceived threat. He believed he was in danger. He drew his firearm. He acted, instinctively, decisively, as any responsible gun owner would when confronted with danger. But the question the case eventually reached the Supreme Court with wasn't whether he was right to act, whether his fear was reasonable, or whether his response saved him from harm. No. The question that mattered was timing. Did he act at the exact right moment? Not too early. Not too late. That split-second judgment, impossible to measure with perfect accuracy, became the focus of the highest court in the land. Most people will never have heard of this case. It didn't make headlines. It wasn't splashed across the front page of major newspapers. But for gun owners, its implications are staggering. It changes everything about how self-defense is legally evaluated in the United States. And here's the part that every gun owner needs to understand. The court's answer was one word. One simple word that will redefine your legal risk every time you carry a firearm. That word is timing. Timing. The single most unpredictable element in any confrontation. The heartbeat between threat and action. The moment that now determines whether your self-defense is lawful or a criminal act. In the next section, we'll break down the 8-to-1 ruling itself, the language the court used, and the paragraphs that will keep every gun owner awake at night. Because what the court wrote doesn't just interpret the law, it creates a new standard that could affect you the very next time a threat appears. Breaking down the 8-to-1 ruling. The Supreme Court's opinion, issued 8-to-1, introduces a brand new and unprecedented standard for self-defense. This ruling doesn't focus on your intention. It doesn't focus on whether the threat was real or how you perceived it. Instead, it zooms in on a single, terrifyingly precise factor: the exact moment you take action. Here's the key paragraph from the decision. In cases of self-defense, the timing of the defensive action must be immediate and correspond to the instant threat. Think about that for a moment. Even if you are completely justified, even if the threat was clear, immediate, and undeniable, even if your life, or the life of someone you love, was at risk, if you acted 1 second too soon, or 1 second too late, the law could view your actions as criminal. This is not a minor adjustment. Experts have warned for years about the dangers of over-scrutinizing split-second human reactions. And now, the court has codified it into law. The timing of your action, the split second between threat and response, is now under legal microscope. Imagine that. Every heartbeat in a confrontation is potentially a legal test. One miscalculated second could be the difference between lawful self-defense and a criminal charge. And this isn't just theory. In the next section, I'll show you a real-world scenario where this exact standard could land someone in jail, a law-abiding gun owner, in a situation that could happen to any of us. Real-world implications. Imagine this scenario. A woman walks to her car in a dark, nearly empty parking lot. The night is quiet. The only sound is the echo of her own footsteps. Suddenly, a man approaches, moving fast, his intentions clearly threatening. Fear spikes through her body. Her heart races. She reaches for her firearm, gripping it tightly, prepared to defend herself. The attacker sees her, hesitates, and then flees. She calls the police, shaken but unharmed. Under the old self-defense law, this would have been straightforward. She acted in fear, she responded to an imminent threat, and she defended herself without firing a shot. She's fine. Under the new Supreme Court standard, however, everything changes. Prosecutors could argue she acted 1 second too early, or 1 second too late. That split-second judgment, impossible to measure perfectly, could be enough to turn a law-abiding citizen into a defendant. Even though she never fired a shot. Even though her fear was real. Even though she followed every principle of responsible self-defense. And this isn't a rare, isolated case. This is exactly the kind of scenario that courts will now scrutinize. Every decision, every heartbeat in the moment of danger, could be analyzed under this new standard. Innocent, law-abiding gun owners, people like you, people who take their responsibilities seriously, are now at risk simply because the law is watching the clock, not the threat. And it gets worse. Buried within the text of the court's opinion is a hidden detail that could turn an entirely justified self-defense act into a felony. A single misjudgment, a single split-second deviation, could be the difference between walking away and facing criminal charges. Most gun owners will never see this detail until it's too late. In the next section, we'll explore exactly what that hidden paragraph says. The paragraph that legal experts are calling a ticking time bomb for gun owners everywhere. Because once you understand it, You'll see why your decisions in the moment of danger have never been more critical. Hidden paragraph. The legal time bomb. Buried deep within the pages of the Supreme Court's ruling, in what most people would overlook as a mere footnote, Footnote 17, lies a sentence that could shake the foundation of self-defense law across America. The court wrote, "Actions taken in self-defense must be strictly contemporaneous with the threat, and any deviation from immediacy may invalidate the defense." Let that sink in. Read it again. Any deviation, even a single heartbeat, even a split second, a moment too soon, a moment too late, and suddenly, your legally justified self-defense could be questioned. Prosecutors could argue that your timing was wrong, even if every other aspect of your action was perfect. This isn't hypothetical. This isn't about extreme cases or fringe situations. This applies to everyday gun owners, people who carry, people who protect their homes, people who never thought a routine defensive decision could put them in legal jeopardy. People just like you and me. The consequences are terrifying. One misjudged moment in the face of danger could transform an act of protection into a criminal case. And with this new standard, prosecutors now have a powerful tool to challenge nearly any self-defense claim. Even actions that, until now, would have been unquestionably justified, are now subject to scrutiny down to the split second. In the next section, we're going to break down 3 real-world scenarios, the kinds of situations that could put a law-abiding gun owner behind bars under this ruling. Even if no shots are fired, even if the threat was real, even if you did everything right, you'll see why this is no longer theory. It's a ticking legal time bomb. 3 scenarios gun owners must avoid. Scenario 1. Home intruder. Imagine you wake in the middle of the night to a strange noise coming from the back door. Your heart races, and your mind goes instantly to protection mode. You grab your firearm and move toward the threat. But here's the danger under this new ruling. What counts as a split second too early? Even if you act correctly to defend yourself, the law could scrutinize your timing as premature. That one decision, made instinctively to protect your life, could suddenly be questioned in a courtroom. Scenario 2. Parking lot confrontation. Picture walking to your car after work in a dimly lit parking lot. Someone approaches aggressively, shouting threats. You draw your firearm to protect yourself. Under the old standard, this would be justified. But now, prosecutors could argue that the exact moment you drew your gun was too soon, or too late. That fraction of a second could become the difference between going home safely or facing criminal charges. Timing has become the new legal battleground. Scenario 3. Threat in public. Even if you are carrying legally and responsibly, a 1-second misjudgment could cost your liberty. Imagine a tense confrontation in a public park. Someone lunges, you react instinctively, and suddenly, that split-second action could be used against you. The law will focus less on whether your fear was justified and more on whether your timing was perfect. For everyday gun owners, the stakes could not be higher. Key takeaway: 1 wrong move. 1 second too early or 1 second too late. That is all it takes for your legal defense to be questioned. But there is hope. If you follow the right precautions, train your instincts, and understand the law, you can stay safely within your rights. 1 split second can decide if you're protected by law or facing charges. Next, I'll show the critical steps every gun owner must take right now to stay safe, before it's too late. What gun owners should do immediately. Step 1. Know the ruling. Read it, understand the timing standard, and how it applies to your state. Step 2. Adjust your training. Not just marksmanship, but decision-making under split-second pressure. Step 3. Document everything. If you ever have to defend yourself, your actions and timing could be scrutinized in court. And one more secret tip most gun owners don't know. Law enforcement and prosecutors are already interpreting this ruling differently across states. You need to understand your local rules now, before it's too late. Real case example. Earlier this year, a licensed gun owner faced a confrontation outside a convenience store. He acted in self-defense. The attacker threatened him. Police reviewed his actions. Prosecutors examined whether his defensive response was immediate enough. This case illustrates how the new Supreme Court standard can complicate what would otherwise be an open and shut self-defense case. The key takeaway: even if you do everything right, timing matters more than ever. 3 legal mistakes and how to avoid them. 1. Acting without understanding local timing rules. 2. Not documenting the incident immediately. 3. Assuming past training covers the new standard. For each, there are real-life consequences. But if you follow these steps, you protect yourself and stay within your rights. Comment "My right is guaranteed." Like, subscribe, and share. Every gun owner in America must see this. This 8-1 Supreme Court ruling is more than legal text. It's a warning, a wake-up call. And for law-abiding gun owners, it's a challenge. Adapt or risk your freedom. The court hinted that future rulings may extend this timing scrutiny even further. What does that mean for gun owners? Only time will tell. Like, comment your thoughts, subscribe, and share this video. This is one ruling every gun owner must see before it's too late. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. And remember, your rights are worth protecting every single second.